Hi everyone. I have this thing so you all can hear me. Um, yeah. I don't know if I've ever had a creative morning in my life. It's always in the evening. Morning is about survival, but I'm here. I'm 3 coffees in, so I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Detroit Bus Company, but we launched this company in January 2012 to work on transit in Detroit. I mean, it's a really, really big, almost insurmountable issue, and we do that in a number of ways. And one of the ways that we're going to talk about today is we do a lot of tours, and we looked at the tours business as a totally different sort of a thing than typically. You know, it's really easy to drive people by the Packard plan and make $40 a person. You know, we didn't take the easy route. We take the really hard route and try to tell the story as we believe is proper. So the way that we do our tours is our entire staff basically, we sit down and we think what it is we need to show people. You know, what niche do we want to go into? If it's an overview tour, what it is we want to show, because we only have people's attention for 3.5, 4 hours, so we really have to condense it down. And the way that we show our city off is the way that I got to know the city in the first place. So I was born in Detroit. I grew up just outside of the city in Harper Woods, H-Dub, and the one place you're not supposed to go when you're in Harper Woods is Detroit. You know, the second I got my license, where did I go? I went to Detroit. And so, being 16 years old, you really can't go to the Bronx bar and like get a beer. So, I don't know, maybe you can, but you start driving around. So, our belief is at the bus company is that everybody has taken kind of the same drive solo, because that's the only way to really get to know the city is to get out there and go check it out. I mean, Greektown there's only so much to Greektown, right? So you start branching out, you start checking things out, and I'm going to take you on one of my short drives that I've done probably 20 times, and it just when you hop in the car and you start going down, you with the modern marvel of GPS, you can just drive and drive and drive, and then when you want to go home, you just flip it on and push a button and you're back. So we can explore it better now than we've ever been able to. You know, before you're afraid, you're like, what if I don't know how to get home? But so we do our bus tours just like we used to drive around. So the city has a natural topography, right? So you're driving and you just feel natural inclinations in which ways to go, and I think that landscape pushes us in similar directions. So there isn't we're going to go up Mac here and on to 14th to get to where we're going to go, but of course everybody's portal to the city is the train station. Everybody starts there somehow. I mean, whatever your opinions are on the train station, it's an amazing building. I mean, it's a beautiful structure, and crappy developments, all that, but it'll come around one day. But that's people's first access to the city. I mean, they for better or worse, they go straight to it, and I think that if we can recognize that, everyone wants to see it, they have to see it, they're going to see it somehow, and the conversation, if it's phrased properly, where people understand what it used to be, where it went to, and how it became the way it became, it's much more powerful to people than just rolling up and seeing it and thinking, oh, that's really depressing, like, oh, poor Detroit. Well, it's actually been like economic policies and anti-development across 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. The groundwork for this stuff has been a long time. So people get into town and they think like, oh, this is terrible, it's all Coleman Young's fault, but it's actually it's been in the making for a long time. So we hire really amazing historians to hop on the bus, tell the story. One of our most popular tours is called Frontier Anarchy, and it's led by Amy Elliott Bragg. She's amazing, absolutely amazing. And she literally wrote the book called The Hidden History of Detroit. So she tells these stories about how one mayor back when had his potato patch plan to build urban gardens and have the people work in the gardens and grow potatoes to feed the city and employ people. That happened to be in 1890, you know. And so that was Hazen Pingree. He was rated one of the country's top mayors ever. And I would have had no idea about him if it wasn't for Amy Elliott Bragg. And his statue's right downtown. I never knew what that statue meant. And it's amazing that the same solutions and the same headlines back in 1890 are coming back today, and to great effect. You know, we're doing things on a bigger level than ever. But unless people get engaged in the conversation of the city, they get into the city and start seeing things. They're not connected to it. You know, they won't. They just read what they see in the newspaper. They just check out the headlines, and that's kind of their opinion. You know, MSNBC gives them their opinion of Detroit. But once you come here, you start to develop your own, and you see these buildings. The most interesting thing that we can share to people on the tour is exactly what's going on with certain buildings, because you'll go by an empty storefront, and you think, oh man, why doesn't somebody just, you know, fix it up and put a business in there? Or some of these warehouses we're going to see on the riverfront, why don't they just open those things back up? But it's actually the economic climate in Detroit is unlike anywhere else in the world on an amazing scale. Nowhere else do we have structures this big that were built for such a specialized purpose, with rents so low that business models work here that don't work anywhere else. That sounds amazing. You know, oh, open up a barbecue restaurant across from an abandoned train station. But it's more like we and I'll show you. We have 80% of the world's aluminum stored on the Detroit riverfront because nowhere else in the world can they warehouse it that cheap. And it creates business models that are actually really strange and destructive. And just to show these people these things with this framing is extremely challenging to get the phrasing right and to frame the conversation. So here she is. So I actually hopped on the Michigan Central Station Wikipedia the other day and read about the Michigan Central Railroad, and it was originally a little tiny railroad that was going to go from here to western Michigan, and then a boat was going to take stuff all the way to Chicago. They went out of business very quickly, actually. They were bought by the state. I believe it was $5 million in old-time money, like 1830s money. And then they invested and they built their line all the way to Chicago, and then some investors came along and bought the company for $2 million. So we have a great history of public projects getting bought cheap, like, I don't know, bridges. The railroad then got basically absorbed by Conrail in the end of the day. And this, as you know, we switched over to cars and away from trains, so we no longer have a use for this place. But hopefully we'll. I'm gonna while we're going through here and get into where I want to start my second conversation, I'm gonna tell you guys a really funny story that I shouldn't tell you. The turn off the cameras, everybody. So I went into the Greyhound Depot. We're looking for a bus depot in the city. You know, I think it's important. The Greyhound Depot across from Green Dot, which you've all seen. It's owned by the Ambassador Bridge Company. And we went in there to take a look. You know, it has like the bus service bays, and it's a special kind of a building. They don't build them like that anymore. And I was walking around, and they have it jammed all full of stuff like toll booths and traffic lights and big service equipment. And I was walking around with some of the Ambassador Bridge Company and Matty Maroon's people, and I was like, man, you guys have enough stuff here to build a second bridge. Totally forgetting that that's exactly what they're doing, trying to do. It was amazing. They didn't rent me any space, so. But this is, as you all are aware, this is the gateway to Southwest Detroit. a lot of people think this immediate neighborhood right here is all there is in Southwest Detroit, but Southwest Detroit is actually an amazingly expansive neighborhood, largely a cash and tradition-based economy. So when 2008 hit everything else really hard, Southwest Detroit really didn't get hit because these houses have been owned by families for generations. They're sold to people on cash deals. So there was no mortgages to pop. There was no crappy lending going on. So Southwest Detroit has actually stayed a very vibrant and very healthy community through and through. And it certainly has its issues. One of the projects we're working on here with the Skillman Foundation is called the Youth Transit Alliance. So we actually use this bus and one other. We bus 4,300 kids to over 90 school programs, from their schools to their programs, then back home. Because most of these kids just aren't attending their programs. It's impossible for them to get to them. What's that? No, okay. He's helping the driver drive. Roland's got it. The traditional system that would have been used to bus those 4,300 kids would be about 22 buses, and conveniently that's about a $2.2 million a year system to operate. The Skillman Foundation was like, well, that's the entire budget for all of the YDA programs in the entire city, so we really can't spend that for the busing. So then there wasn't busing. There hasn't been busing, and we looked at it from a different perspective. We said, okay, traditionally a bus does the transit for one program, drives the kids around. The bus sits for 6 or 7 hours, but that bus still costs. The equipment is expensive, and so that makes the cost insurmountable. Well, we said, well, there's 90 programs. It's only 14, 15 kids per program, and they're all at different staggered times. Why can't the same buses do the work for all of the different programs with some routing software? And they've never done that before because the landscape of the financial model for these after-school programs is that the programs pay for everything on their own, whereas collaboratively they can afford much more. So they backed our 6-month pilot to see if it would work. We've given 751 individual rides in July alone. It started July 1st, and it's been amazing. I mean, it's been an absolutely amazing project for us to look at transit, which is a pretty old, pretty stagnant commodity-based market, and find new solutions. When there typically aren't any. So we're going down Grand Boulevard now. Who's been on one of our buses before? Anybody? There's like 2 hands. We gotta do better. We gotta market better. I need a graphic designer stat. Need some. There's probably a few on the bus. Yeah, Vanessa's like, I need work. I'll invoice you. So we're coming into Southwest Detroit. Like I said, Southwest is not just that little neighborhood with coffee. It's not just that little neighborhood with Sochi Milko's in it. I mean, Southwest Detroit is an amazing community that very few people understand fully. I'm still working in Grasswood myself. I think I have my usual wake-up alarm going off right now. Yeah, so this is when my day usually starts. But again, these tours, they're not your traditional tours where we drive by some burned out stuff in factories and you take some photos and we leave. I mean, this is now the Boblo terminal is making me a liar as we drive right by it, but it's important to see this stuff and then frame it properly. So the Boblo freight terminal there actually is in really great shape. So as you all know, Boblo Island was an amusement park. It was redeveloped into condos. But the Boblo freight terminal was a huge port right here to ship things directly into the city, so they could hop on trucks very close to downtown. It's defunct now. On the left there's a ton of steel storage. Our riverfront is an amazingly valuable resource, and when we were going through our industrialization craze in the early 1900s, they basically said, you want to open a factory here, put it wherever you want. screw urban development. Just, you want the riverfront? Take the riverfront. And it was actually a big win to get the Medusa Cement Company to move off the riverfront. A lot of this stuff here, I mean, in any other city, this would be amazing riverfront property, be recreational. So we're coming up on one of my favorite buildings in the entire city. The brick power plant you see up ahead on your left is the Mistursky Power Plant. This was actually the first electric power plant built in the city of Detroit. It was pioneered with Edison and his people. It was actually built to light downtown. It was built to light the city, and the city was obviously much smaller back at the turn of the 20th century. They just built this for public lighting, and then Ford built his Highland Park plant, and so they ran power lines up to Highland Park, which used to be outside of the city. You know, that was kind of the sticks. And then Boston Edison was like, hey, we're all rich, we want power to run our elevators and blenders and stuff. And so Boston Edison was one of the first electrified neighborhoods. And then it kind of spread from there, and they never intended this to be a power station to run the city. It was supposed to, I love how the O is falling off there, that's been Instagrammed so many times. It was never made to be a power plant to run the city, it was just supposed to be public lighting. But they expanded it over and over and over again. They've changed its fuel type. I mean, it's been through a lot of different iterations. We now run mostly off the Monroe power plant downriver, but the Mistursky is still in use. On your left, we come up on Fort Wayne, which I think is one of our most underappreciated assets here in the city by far. You know, I know there's a few bike races and such going on, but Fort Wayne is such an amazing facility. It's amazing that it hung on through all the years and nobody tore it down and made another steel yard. But if you check it out from Google Earth, it's actually this really, really cool star shape. And it's kind of hard to appreciate here from the roadside. You know, it looks pretty impressive, but on the side, it's really remarkable. We suggest you go there. And what's funny is historic Fort Wayne here actually leads into the downriver area and then River Rouge, which is one of the most heavily polluted industrial areas in the entire planet. They call Zug Island the most polluted square mile on Earth. It is a steel mill. I don't know a single person that's made it onto the island. Have any of you ever been on Zug Island itself? You have? Are you a steel worker, or were you? No? He was taking pictures for the steel company, so as long as you're with the man, they let you on. They get access to your light room. You know, they don't let you put out anything dirty looking. This is the drive that I took. I mean, in my burgundy minivan at 16 years old that was bought from my grandma's hairdresser. You know, I'd drive down this stretch, and I'd bring friends with me, and I'd show them, and my mom would call, and I'd say, yeah, no, I'm in Grosse Pointe at Caribou, you know. I'm totally working, Mom. And so I would just do this stretch over and over and over again, and this is what got me interested. I mean, I knew very little about the city. You know, they don't tell you Detroit history in high school in Harper Woods and Grosse Pointe. You know, that's not part of the curriculum. They try to talk about it as little as possible. But you come down here and you just have to figure out what's going on. So hopefully you dig in and start developing a relationship with the city and want to take part in any way possible. I mean, if it's just, you know, coming here recreationally, that's certainly a start. But I think this is honestly the way that people start thinking about moving here. This was the, you know, 15 years ago. This is how people started looking at neighborhoods like you know, Corktown, Lafayette Park, and the Mies van der Rohe, and just seeing it as a viable place to come and do something. Now, it's not going to be a place for families for quite a long time because the services just aren't there. But you know, plucky 25-year-old warehouse dwellers can move into pretty much anywhere. You know, the police wouldn't come if you called because it's some abandoned warehouse they're living in anyway. But you know, you're seeing the same kind of patterns as other areas such as Baltimore and Providence, Rhode Island, where you've got industrial structures that were vacated. Oh, there she is. You can smell Zug Island before you can see it. It's amazing. Yeah, everyone knows the Stinky Bridge that you drive over on I-75, but rarely do people drive down here on the surface level. So you got all these warehouses and structures and square footage that's just unused, and like I said, it allows business models that just don't work anywhere else. So, what's up, bud? Just cleaning. And it's cool, and things are starting to push outward some more. You know, I just saw some posts. Some kids were buying some houses down here on the auction. You know, you can pretty much on the property auction pick your house for $500, and start fixing it up and just make yourself your own little corner and get to work. So we're getting now into one of these bridges up here. We might find out the fun way that one of these bridges is closed. I'm not sure which one, but one got hit by a boat the other day. I guess a drunk bridge operator closed the bridge on a barge, and it's an amazingly historic road closed at bridge. Wow, look at that. So we should probably make a right. Hold on, everybody. Yeah. So I think if we got down to the bridge, let's see if we can see it. That's the green one's not it. A beautiful old iron bridge. You know, impossible to repair, and one lazy button push. And you crush a barge. I mean, that's... No, I don't see it right now. It was, I saw some photos of it. It was all twisted up, but... yeah, so we're going to go back up through Fort instead. Lisa, our conductor, has it down. She's opening a flower shop here in the city, hopefully soon. She found herself interested. Do the same drives. You got a red light. Where's I need my how's my time doing? I'm looking for my green flashlight. Well, I'm thinking about where we're at in this point. I might move the Q&A up a little bit. Is that cool? Am I allowed? Okay. So I'm that's pretty much our process. You know, it's not it's certainly not on a document anywhere. We just sit down with our staff and people who found out about the city in largely the same way. Most of our staff are Detroit natives, one way or another. Yeah. So what do you got? Anybody got any questions? Are you pretty enthralled looking out the windows right now? Yes.
What is like your background? Like, did you go to college, or like what was like? How did you get into like doing all the like entrepreneurial things that you do? Is like you don't know the story.
So when I was 16, I started going around Detroit, and I got a little warehouse, and I started buying and selling old cars. I'd go to a police auction. They'd be for like $100, $200, and I'd clean them up and I'd sell them. And you know, I was working as a busboy at the time, and that sucked. And you know, making $4.30 an hour. And I bought an old Cutlass for $100. It was a terrible car, and I sold it. I fixed it. I learned about cars. I didn't know anything about cars. I fixed it, and I sold it for $1,200. And I had all the cash laid out on my mom's bathroom counter, like it was like my Scarface moment. I was like, this is amazing. So I did that a few times. I got a little warehouse. I actually got a hangar at Detroit City Airport. Got kicked out for non-aviational use, as they call it. Sticklers. I got a seal letter from the FAA. It was awesome. But then I started going to school. I started going to Lawrence Tech. Oh, those are cool. Yep, want one of those. That's business number 6. One day, giant magnet. Anyway, so who doesn't want a giant magnet? I started going to Lawrence Tech. I went to be a mechanical engineer. Absolutely hated it. I love building things. I love technology and tearing the TV remote apart. But the business of being an engineer is like the exact opposite of creativity. It's like you're just in an office somewhere reading PDF technical manuals and project managing. I mean, it's not engineering as you think it. So I thought the best way for me to go forth an engineer was to not be an engineer at all, and launch a business. I mean, this is a small business. I feel is the most rewarding, riskiest, most terrifying creativity that you can you can be, because if you don't make paychecks one week, then there's no more business. So so you have to be creative in keeping it alive. Yeah, so I dropped out, started Paper Street, which is a business incubator up in Ferndale in 2010. I launched the Thunderdrome Racing Series in late 2010, and then the Bus Company 2012. So I don't know what 2013 is going to be yet, but something. So hopefully, Giant Magnet, giantmagnet.com. Is this Woodmere on the left? Yeah, this is the Woodmere Cemetery. Detroit cemeteries are absolutely amazing. The Elmwood on the east side is some of the city's last remaining original topography. So Detroit actually had beautiful rolling green hills. It was actually pretty hilly, and we have systematically flattened it out so it's easier to get around on. Woodmere, I think, has been leveled at one point. We've had so many. Eastern Market, this is one of my favorite part of Frontier Anarchy, is you almost see people make like a yuck face, because Eastern Market used to be a massive cemetery. And when they went to build Eastern and Western Market, they actually exhumed all of the bodies and moved them over to different cemeteries. And so Eastern Market, almost perfectly, the square footage of it was all dead people. So when people think about, like, but I eat there, they make this like, face. It's awesome. The Elmwood is the only place where you can see the original kind of rolling hills, and there's Bloody Run right there. The cemeteries, most of these cemeteries are open to the public, and they actually have the doggy poop bags stations so that you can like walk your dog and get some peace. So I suggest you certainly check out Elmwood. Woodmere, I'm certain is open to walk in as well. They're some of the biggest, most quiet spots we've got in the city. So that question really spiraled out of control. All right, what's next? Anybody got anything? Oh.
What's your favorite kind of undiscovered spot in Detroit?
My favorite undiscovered spot in Detroit. Yeah, I can't screw it up. Now, my favorite thing right now that I know is certainly going to blow up is over off of Verner and Livernois on a street called Toledo. Is this little warehouse park, and tucked around the back of the warehouse park is a taco trailer. Of course, it's like the taco trailers are undiscovered, yeah, right. But what's cool about this one is that it is like anti-marketed. It's just this little trailer. It's in a warehouse park, and you buy the trailer, and then you go eat inside of their warehouse, which they've like turned into kind of like the original pop-up. It's just like chairs and yellow paint in a warehouse. So it's really pretty cool, and they get around the whole legality of having a restaurant in a warehouse by just making it a trailer. So that's my jam. We actually took a bus tour, our food tour over there, and everybody was pretty floored. Everyone orders like Xochimilco sized tacos, and they're like, give me 5, and it comes out, it's like 3.5 pounds worth of food. So that was actually like the first or second stop on our food tour. Stops 3 and 4, I don't think anybody ate anything. So gotta be more careful about tasting the food. So we're coming back on to Verner now, which is kind of the main drag to southwest Detroit. I mean, Verner is where everything's located. There's pretty much nothing you can't get on Verner. The community is expanding towards Michigan Avenue, which is pretty amazing. But Michigan Avenue, much like Woodward through Highland Park, is just going to be very, very difficult to develop because it's high speed. People are usually getting between the city and Dearborn. They're not stopping to shop and prosper and such. So Verner actually is more successful because it's slower. It's more neighborhood based. People walk up here. A lot of the programs for our YTA are up and down. That looks like it used to be a Taco Bell. No, it's a Greek place. I love old Taco Bells.
What's your thoughts on what needs to happen creatively to allow 25-year-olds to still be here when they're 35 and have kids?
Yeah, so we've got to start working. The question was, so when 25-year-olds move down here, everything's great. You can basically live with a hot pot and a truckload of ramen noodle in a warehouse. But what happens when you turn 35 and you end up with 2 kids, and it's like, oh, I can't really raise them here in the city, and you scoot. Well, we have to start bringing back services now, which is a really slow process to fix a municipality. So, public safety is really first and foremost. I'm a little biased, but I think transit is really close behind that. People expect transit of a modern city, and people won't choose this as their destination from other major cities if transit isn't available. I really see that M1 light rail, whatever your opinion is on that, it should be that it's a good one, because it's the M1 light rail will not move the city. It certainly won't. It's going to be from downtown to New Center. That's a pretty small corridor, but M1 light rail will provide the conduit for additional funding into transit in the city and raise awareness on the level of the FTA. I mean, we've raised more money proportionally privately for the M1 than any other transit development in the history of the world. I mean, like, we've paid the private industry has paid the majority of the freight on that project, and that just simply doesn't happen. So to have that go and to be successful and to be running gives us a precedent for other future transit development that is a public-private partnership, and we're, of course, as Detroit, innovating in a new direction on how to get stuff done when the municipalities really can't pull it together. So pretty interesting development there. So I'm excited to ride it myself. It doesn't quite go to my neighborhood yet, but it will.
I have a question.
Yes. Yep. So the question was, do we do customized tours, and do we work with people if they bring family in? It's actually a really big business of ours. Is that a lot of times we'll do tours for companies. Companies are moving down into Detroit in droves right now, and their people largely don't know much about Detroit. But despite not knowing much, they're pissed about it. Because they have their office in Livonia, they bought a house there, and then whoops, we're in Detroit now. So they are trying to mitigate the piss-offedness of moving into the city by showing people that there's awesome stuff down here. You're gonna go have lunch at Green Dot. You're gonna go have lunch at Coney's, and life will be okay. And so the tours are tailored typically to what sort of company, where they're at, what neighborhood they're in. Each custom tour is obviously very different, but we do have a small catalog of private tours that we break out. Our newest one that we're stoked to offer is with Keep Growing Detroit, an urban farm and garden tour that's going to be really to show all the developed ones like Earthworks, and the ones that are coming up like Nick's Fish Farm over on Boston. Public art is a tough one because it's such a diverse genre, and we always wanted to do the public art tour, seeing as our buses are it. A quick thing on the paint job of the buses. So the paint job came out of utility. They couldn't stay yellow because unless you're running as a school bus all the time, your bus cannot be yellow. So we had to paint them, and we figured why paint them just some lame color? Let's hire artists to paint them. So this bus is painted by Kobe Solomon. If you don't know Kobe, he painted the world's largest hand-painted mural on the side of the Russell Industrial Center. That mural actually breaks a few records. He's still working on it, as all murals are works in progress forever. He painted this bus over the course of 2 weeks. And again, like I said about Creative Mornings being hard for me, he worked from 9 p.m. until 8 a.m. Every day for 2 weeks on this bus, because that's just when he wanted to work on it. That was when he got his painting mojo. So we set it up with some lights, and I think an amazing piece of artwork came out of that. Our other bus that you guys see, Loch Ness, is painted by an artist, Tommy DeGano. Tommy made his first mural in Eastern Market proposing to his girlfriend, Tizzy, and she accepted. And a week later, they painted that bus together. That was his second mural. And then they went and they painted their Save the Date mural, and they actually used the bus in their wedding. It was an integral part of the wedding, and the photos. So it was super cool that they got to do that. And 3 weeks after we painted that bus, it got ran into by a drunk driver on Cass right in front of Circa. This guy hit it doing about 50 miles an hour. He blew a .19. He fell asleep immediately in the squad car. Everybody was fine in the bus. These buses weigh 30,000 pounds, so they don't care about a Windstar. They're built pretty well. So he was fine too. A little cross about that. Tommy was like, "Are you kidding me? I just painted that thing." So, but no, public art tour. I'd love to do one. It's tough because there's so. You've got art from 20 years ago that's still holding on. original murals done by communities. You've got new stuff like Hygienic Dress League stuff popping up that some people see as controversial, but as far as I see it, if art isn't controversial, it's it's kind of lazy. So, but I like prodding people, but you also have to respect neighborhood lines and understand that. The most frustrating thing to me, and I think a lot of people, is when people say Detroit is a blank canvas. That grates the hell out of me, because it's not. There's 700,000 people here that have lived here, have grown up here, keep their families here despite the lack of services, and so it's certainly not a blank canvas. There is room for you to come and create and to partake in the conversation, but it's certainly not a playground or do whatever you want kind of place. No, I'm not blaming you or anything. I'm just saying that's another. It's all defensive. There's an amazing amount of public art here. A lot of the weird crew murals just popped up in Eastern Market. If you haven't seen all those tealish murals in Eastern Market, go check them out. Super detailed. The Grand River Creative Corridor is amazing, and that's basically just a couple guys that own that building and just facilitate murals we painted on. They rent big sky cranes and stuff to paint those. It's a great time for street art in the city. Legit street art. There's some of this kind of stuff really isn't street art. These are just burners. But if you're looking for murals, this is the hotbed right now for people to come. The Weird Crew is actually out of Europe. They're all graphic designers, and on their free time they fly to different countries and make these sweet murals. So, anything else? We're back at the illustrious train station. They're actually putting some windows in. I think how many are we at now, Lisa? On the face of it, are we at 4 windows up top? He's really screaming along. Oh, 3. We're still at 3. I'm sorry. Oh, there's 4. There are 4 windows. Boom. Oh, it's almost ready for rent, guys. It's almost ready for rent, just like the Broderick. Back to you all. Pull out the IKEA catalog. No, actually, I guess he put those windows in without a permit, and somebody was chastising him for not going through due process and all that. And it's like, well, this actually is an amazing story. So on the right here, the Roosevelt Hotel. That was a really beautiful, pretty utilitarian hotel. It had a deli and a barber shop on the first floor. And then when it closed, it became like kind of a homeless shelter / apartments. Like they were like really short-term free apartments. That went out of business right after they put a new roof on it about 6 or 7 years ago. In the 2010 property auction, we were bidding on it, and we just got edged out by Dennis Kaflanos, owner of the Russell Industrial Center, and a lot of lofts that don't exactly meet code. But he is blazing right along and developing that thing. They've got it all studded out. They got it ready for new windows. It's shaping up to be a pretty cool thing. I mean, it's a total win just to offer some market rate apartments there, hopefully. So he's being really quiet on what that's turning into. But that's the other thing about the driving around yourself around Detroit and doing tours and such, is that everything frequently changes in the city. You'll see new murals popping up, or buildings going away, or things getting remodeled, and it's cool to take the same corridors and see something different every single time. It is a very dynamic city. That over there behind the White Castles, where they're staging the parts for the bridges they're putting on I-94, the I-94 expansion project, we are extremely against. So for anybody who's keeping score, they're aiming to widen a very small part of 94. I think it's an 8-mile stretch over the next 20 years for a couple $1 billion with a B. For a tenth of the money that if they're using to expand that part of I-94, we could have a bus rapid transit system that goes up every major corridor and gets us to Flint, Lansing, and Ann Arbor. So just put that in perspective when you see that new lane on I-94, what we could have had instead. So yeah, boo. But that plan also has been coming 10 years. So it certainly wasn't a secret. SEMCOG was developing that idea with MDOT. They had all the public hearings. They followed all the due process. Nobody really cared because they're it was whatever. It's Detroit. Let's get through it as quickly as possible. 10 years ago, And now that the resurgence is happening in Woodbridge is a destination neighborhood for a large number of people. People are going, wait a minute, we shouldn't demolish half the neighborhood. That's a bad idea. So hopefully we can spin that around, much like the $100 million jail in Greektown. So we've got kind of a development plan hangover still as a city, but we're fixing that up. What's that? The prison? So they spent $100 million on the prison site so far in Greektown. Dan Gilbert and a few other development property corporations have offered to purchase it. And this county wants to give a $1 lease on a similar facility that's vacant right now up on Mound. It's such a good deal that city council will probably not do it. It'd make them look too good. Yeah, they actually, I saw everybody come across on my Crane's email alert that they actually opened up like a Detroit corrections facility. So hopefully that'll push the sale. Oh, they're doing something over there. I don't know how much you guys are into the Woodbridgey area, but that big warehouse complex has always been mystifying to me. It's like slowly been crumbling. It looks like they were doing some environmental sampling, so maybe something's happening. That's actually what tipped off the stadium development. Was somebody caught some soil sampling trucks with their labels covered over with blue masking tape, doing soil samples on Woodward there. And someone caught him, sent a photo to curb. And that you always have to do your phase environmental studies before you build anything. So cat's out of the bag. So maybe this is going to turn into something. This old warehouse back here. This complex is also mystifying up here ahead on the right. That is the old DTE. So before they built their big Death Star over on Michigan Avenue, they were in these buildings here, and they did all of their service out of here. And they're trying to sell the whole thing as a big lot, but it's just too much for any one organization to bite off. They've got a few $1 million natural gas refueling station on site that they still use. So we've got these huge complexes that just shouldn't be where they were built, and so they're really, really tough to develop. You know, the spread is just too great to fix those things.
That's a great
So
one for Detroit.
we built crap like casinos.
That's a really good idea.
Big chip food casinos. So, but thankfully, the urban planning conversation in Detroit is no longer a secret. You know, there's a lot of people engaged. There's a lot of talent and a lot of skill and a lot of experience from other metropolitan areas coming here and helping us avoid the problems that they went through after this rebuilding. Coming back up back now. You're good. This is her first conducting experience, and she is keeping us on the path, despite bridges being gone and all kinds of stuff.
It's really hard because it does change a lot. They come and go.
Thanks, iPhone.
I would love to do that though. I want to do an
Another thing, the NSO on the right, the Tumani Center, is one of the very few homeless shelters in the city that's actually open 24 hours. It's one of the very few that you can actually stay at overnight. The other one is Operation Get Down 2 by the Packard plant. The NSO here, you actually have to sleep in a chair because it's so packed. And a lot of the property development issues around the area, they point to that as something that's holding this area back. And so the problem is, though, it's like, where do you move something like that that the people can still get access to it? So you know, there's a big NIMBY conversation. You know, not in my backyard is the acronym. But you know, no other neighborhood wants to accept a center like that. So it's tough. You know, there have been offers to you know, provide transit to people, not from us, but provide transit to people from that area to a new center, and you know, we're just there's an interesting conversation, especially street art again back. Some people made some anti-hipster paintings over in Southwest Detroit, and it raises the question about how we build and what direction we build in with gentrification and whatnot. And what is sustainable, and what still respects neighborhood borders and existing populations. So I think that those conversations will get more and more heated as we go forward, and development pushes outwards into the further neighborhoods. So we'll see what happens. Yo. Yeah, so this fellow up here says he works over at the Mariners Inn, which is immediately opposite Mike Ilge's free $400 million stadium that they're building. And they've got a big problem with the inn being right there, right? It's a really contentious issue because they want to build so many hundreds of thousands of square feet worth of retail and residential and all that. And the problem is when you come into the neighborhood, I mean the Mariners Inn has every right to be in the neighborhood because it's been there forever, as the new stadium does. But they're trying to do anything they can to get that to move. The issue with social services like that is that they're all proximity based. It's owned by the Episcopal Church, so they're going to be pretty unshakable. Oh, he's got a promotion wrapped into it. They're doing a car wash fundraiser today to raise some bucks to bus wash. Yeah, how much you guys want for a bus wash? All right, we got that. Yeah, $30. So we're coasting back in now. If anybody has any last questions, I'm happy to answer them. I see a hand in the back.
So how do you handle the questions from people who are really negative about Detroit, who are forced to move here, or who see all the decay? What do you tell people to kind of balance it and give them a better picture of the city?
So how do we answer the questions of people who are really negative about Detroit, who are angry about moving here, and just generally being difficult? We don't. What we do is we show them the city as we see it. We show them the opportunity here, the great places to eat, the what's coming up next, and let them form their own opinions. If they're not sold on an amazing metropolis coming back for its 9th comeback, then they're not going to be convinced by anything we can tell them. So maybe they should move to Ann Arbor or something. So yeah, we don't go for the hard sell on the city. We let the city do it for us, and if it's too much for them to take in, then just ain't for them. There's always Auburn Hills. This place here on the right, actually, they're saying is supposed to be open pretty soon. It doesn't look it to me, but I'm not much of a developer. So remember the Zakur novelty that used to be there? It was like a balloon and weird plastic things place, bright yellow. Zakur, yeah. Yeah. It's going to be apartments in a big retail space, lofty thing. So the rumor is Atlas Global Bistro is going to move into it or something. So Detroit also is we're the 3rd largest industry in the world in rumors. That's a great export of ours. We've got a filmmaker on the front seat, and I was like, "You made that sweet video, didn't you?" And he's like, "You saw it?" So it's tough to be a filmmaker. It's hard. He moved here 10 years ago from LA. Well, welcome, congratulations. That is so here we are back at the Great Lakes. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you going along with us.